Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, starring Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Dan Stevens, Kaylee Hottie, Alex Ferns, and Fallout Chen, directed by Adam Wingard. Welcome back to Godzilla and King Kong when they match up together. And it's been since 2021 since I reviewed Godzilla vs. Kong, and I still like that movie quite a bit, but now, onto this movie. I have seen it twice. The first time was on the recliner chair area, so there wasn't too many people there. And the second viewing was more along the lines of screen X showings. And what that is say this is the screen. Whenever you get an action scene or something spectacular, the screen expands to the sides. So, let's see how I feel about this movie, because I have some opinions about this one. We start off in Hollow Earth, where King Kong is being chased by some monsters that sound like dogs or wolves, for that matter, and Kong traps a couple of them in a clever trap, and they see Kong ripping one in half, and Kong eats one of them after he showers when he gets back to his home. And I'm just gonna say up front, this is a pretty looking movie as far as the cinematography is concerned. While Kong tries to eat his food, something smaller than Kong tries to eat his food, and as the other creature takes it away from Kong, as he hears a roar, but as it turns out it was a frog, while his tooth hurts. And we first see Godzilla in Italy, where he fights another kaiju. Yes, we're calling it the kaiju now, after Pacific Rim. And the movie focuses on Kong and some humans more than Godzilla, and in my honest opinion, take the humans out of the movie, as the monster action is cool in this one, but the acting is corny as hell, like any Godzilla or kaiju movie kind of movie. Another world appears in Hollow Earth, while Kong goes to the territory of Godzilla because of his dental issue, while Dr. Eileen Andrews, returned by Rebecca Hall, picks up Gia, returned by Kaylee Hottie, who was in Godzilla vs. Kong, because she had a meltdown at school, as she knows there's a secret going on in the Monarch. And I'm going to say today this, and I'm going to say this throughout the show: ditch the human characters because they don't matter, so we can see the monsters, as that's the entertaining part in my opinion, because the human drama stuff, not as entertaining, but the monster stuff, give it a thumbs up. Eileen finds Bernie Hayes, returned by Brian Tyree Henry, in Miami, Florida, while he's recording his podcast, in which he had last time, and she asks him for help about something happening in Hollow Earth, while Bernie wants to go to Hollow Earth in exchange for his help, while Godzilla is on the move to Kong's location as Kong gets out of Hollow Earth for his dental reason. And the Monarch calls on Trapper, played by Dan Stevens, whom I know from playing the Beast in the Beauty and the Beast remake, as he has a machine to pull out of Kong's tooth. And I guess he'll stay for that scene alone. But only that scene. I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't like the characters, except for Godzilla and Kong. As I keep saying nonstop, ditch the damn characters, as the acting in this is horrible. Bernie comes off to the Monarch and points there's a distress call that Gia sees in the system. Bernie begs the Eileen at this point to take him to Hollow Earth with her, Gia, Trapper, and Mikhail, played by Alex Ferns, who I've seen in a couple movies. And she brings him along, and they get in Hollow Earth, and with Kong, and the way they get in there is cool, as it's a lot of fun as this movie without the human characters. When they get to Hollow Earth, they follow Kong as they spot some predators at their 9 o'clock, and they take a landing on Hollow Earth and see something that is not Kong making a handprint, and the humans know something is wrong. Meanwhile, in France, a giant hole is here, while Godzilla tries to get in Hollow Earth, as some jet fighters are trying to stop Godzilla, and Kong sees something on the other side of his home and gets his axe because something might happen to his home. And the light on the axe lights up and goes to another world where it's filled with other apes, like Kong, as he's approached by Mini Kong, whom I'm going to call for the rest of the movie because I never know what the hell his name is. as he briefly bites Kong in the hand and gets in a fight and wins against some other apes as one gets away and Kong throws a rock at the ape getting away. And why is Kong fighting other apes, I wonder? Because they serve another ape called the Scar King, as Mini Kong takes Kong to Skull King, which is a cool action sequence. The humans walk around Hollow Earth while Bernie will go back and forth making his documentary about the Hollow Earth. And Mikhail goes off kind of jerkish as he goes off saying he's in charge and gets eaten by a tree. Literally, I'm not making that up. And Bernie is afraid to the point Trapper hugs Bernie to calm him down, and this is hilarious as Bernie is led to believe something is really wrong with him, and I laughed both times I saw the movie. Because that's how corny this movie is. The human spots some other humans and tracks them down, and they see some lighting and fireflies, and they get in their home world, which is great to look at. Kong and Mini Kong walk to the lake as they get something to eat in the water. And while they're there, Kong gets attacked as Mini Kong runs away by something that I think it might have been a squid or something. I couldn't tell you what that was. And Kong drops a rock and offers Mini Kong a piece of fish that looks like a dragon. And I couldn't tell you what that was again. And that fight was giving me Kong Skull Island flashbacks. And Kong eats the fish as he offers one to Mini Kong while in the Arctic Ocean. There's too much energy on Godzilla, they can't trap him, as Godzilla fights a kaiju fish as well and breaks him into pieces and makes a big hole while the humans have found their more humans. And they, I swear to God, look like the villagers in the original King Kong as well as Peter Jackson's version that I'll never review to this day, as I don't remember the one from 1976 with Jeff the Dude Man Bridges all that well. But one of them believes Gia is the one to trust for now. And I love the colors in this scene, and I'm liking this better than Ghostbusters Frozen Empire because I had the lowest expectations for this movie, and I'm entertained so far. But is this as good as Godzilla -1 that came out this past Christmas? No. That's the best Godzilla movie in my opinion, as this movie is entertaining from start to finish. We learned the villagers called for help against the Scar King, and yes, I'm going to call them the villagers for the rest of the movie, whom Kong meets in the next, and the Scar King whom Kong meets in the next scene as Mini Kong is with him as the humans learn about the Scar King, and the Scar King approaches after Kong punches one of his guards after treating one of his slaves by abusing him. And Kong meets the Scar King, and the Scar King laughs at Kong along with the other apes, and the Scar King is abusive towards his fellow apes as he kills Mini Kong's father, I'm guessing is who that is. And Kong fights the Scar King, which is the second best fight in my opinion, and the Scar King almost kills Kong, but Mini Kong helps Kong escape as the Scar King's pet, which sort of looks like a white Godzilla but in ice, as he freezes Kong, and he's almost killed by Shiba. That's what he's called, the white Godzilla-looking guy. And I like the action scene as it looks pretty awesome. Kong runs from the other apes, and they almost kill him in front of his trap. And Mini Kong saves his life while Gia has the time of her life, while the humans have a good time as Bernie continues to film his documentary until Kong and Mini Kong approach the humans, as well as the villagers, as he's painfully wounded, and he communicates with Gia, and he almost dies while his arm looks so bad, while another ape tells the Scar King where Kong and Mini Kong are at, because remember, he followed them at one point as the Scar King brings up Shiba, and Godzilla gets out of the water, while his colors, instead of blue, is pink, which looked as random as it did in the trailer, while Kong gets a power glove for his hand, which looks awesome, as we learn about it in the movie from more than the trailer. And it can pack a punch so hard it could break some other monster's jaw. And I love that mechanical arm, as it's badass to see on screen. Mini Kong warns the Scar King, or warns Kong, the Scar King and Shiba are on the way, as Kong moves again along with his new mechanical arm, in which he tested before Mini Kong approaches, as Gia tells Kong he's going to need help from Godzilla. And he finds Godzilla in Cairo, Egypt. and have a brief fight while Gia awakens Mothra. Yes, Mothra makes a cameo as Kong beats Godzilla's ass briefly, and Godzilla almost kills Kong. But Mothra approaches them, and Mothra tells Godzilla that Kong needs his help against the Scar King, and they help out, which is a badass moment. And as this is the third best action scene, the first is coming up in the next segment, I promise. The fight begins with the Scar King telling Sheba to trap the other monsters on top until Trapper gets them down by getting Godzilla, Kong, and Mothra. As Kong fights the Scar King, Godzilla fights Sheba, and Mothra saves the humans and fights the other apes, and Mini Kong throws a rock at some apes while kicking one in the head, and they get back to Godzilla's world and fight in Rio, Brazil. As the Scar King and Kong arrive there, along with Sheba freezing their world like in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, where the city is iced up, but this does it better than that movie did, in my opinion. Godzilla eventually approaches, as does Mini Kong, while Kong can't fight the Scar King and Sheba alone as Godzilla's power is up, and they tear up Rio, and Godzilla breaks the Scar King's chain and makes sure the Scar King doesn't reach his most deadly weapon until Mini Kong blows it up with Kong's axe, and Godzilla and Kong work together to defeat the Scar King, and they freeze him and break him into pieces, and that's the #1 best action scene, as that was completely badass. And Mothra closes the portal to Hollow Earth as Eileen tells Gia if she wants us to stay, she could stay there, but she wants to stick with Eileen as they continued the mother-daughter relationship. As Mothra flies around Hollow Earth and the humans go back to their homes, as does Godzilla and the Kongs, as Mini Kong and Sheba follow Kong, as does the other apes, and they call Kong King. As the climax was a lot of fun, and I would watch this again on 4K, despite this isn't the best Godzilla movie in my opinion, nor Kong movie for that matter. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 6.8 out of 10. I would recommend ditching the characters, but keep the monsters, as I don't like the characters and the acting in this is horrible, but the scenes with the kaiju monsters are a lot of fun to watch. As far as the cinematography is concerned, this is a pretty looking movie, while this is super action-packed from start to finish, while the dialogue is hilarious as hell. And I couldn't stop laughing both times I saw the movie, whereas last time in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire didn't make me laugh as this movie did. And I can't take the characters too seriously, as they're so damn corny. I can't believe I like this more than Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, as I was having the lowest expectations for it, as this movie is funnier than that piece of crap of a movie. It was, while my expectations were very low for this movie after Godzilla -1, which was the best Godzilla movie, in my opinion, I'll say, as this is a recommendation, and you'll have fun with this movie, and I might buy this on 4K. Forget streaming, by the way. I don't like that stuff. As I own the original King Kong and Godzilla, as well as King Kong vs. Godzilla, as well as the Americanized Godzilla and Kong movies, as well as the Japanese Godzilla, a couple of Japanese Godzilla movies, as I have yet to pick up Godzilla -1 when it comes on 4K Blu-ray. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and until they ever make another one, let's fight!